Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and humbled at the minute by the influx of new listeners to this podcast. Everyone thought I was completely mad when I said I wanted to create a podcast where we interview tech leaders from multiple industries and learn from those stories, but also make the listeners a big part of the show. People say I'm a dreamer, but you know what? I'm not the only one. I feel a song coming on, but I will spare you my rendition of that tune. And sorry that I rambled on a little bit there. But a big thank you to listeners new and old, and an even bigger warm welcome to the show, because scheduling 7 podcasts a week and speaking with an eclectic mix of leaders from multiple industries all over the world is still something that completely blows my mind, and just how powerful the podcast medium is. Because essentially we're recording a conversation, pushing one button, and have people listen to it on their commute, at their gym, doing their household chores, or even just walking their dog. It's a great time to be alive, isn't it? Today, I wanted to find out more about how we're increasingly using technology to manage inventory in restaurants all over the world. For example, SimpleOrder by Upserve is a back-of-house platform that streamlines purchasing, inventory tracking, and the menu costing process in a restaurant and food preparation kitchens. But once again, this is something that you never think about when you walk into a restaurant. You're not thinking about the software and the back end of that software that essentially makes that meal that you're about to eat possible. Nobody ever thinks about that unsexy stuff that goes on. So Judith Goldstein is armed with an intuitive understanding about what the market needs, and also has a strong ability to connect with people. She has a fantastic educational background in food science and also specialises in food technology. So today I want to explore how SaaS-based technology is actually revolutionising the restaurant industry. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to LA so we can speak with Judith Goldstein from SimpleOrder. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Judith Goldstein. I work for SimpleOrder by Upserve. The company recently got acquired by Upserve, so now we're one big family. And SimpleOrder is a back-of-house management tool, and it's basically designed to help restaurants completely run their back-of-house. So that's ordering from suppliers, costing their menu, and tracking their inventory. So the system, the platform, has everything set up in order to do that whole process easily. So it's basically a 360 degrees. So you order the ingredients from the suppliers, and everything you order goes into the system. You order through the platform. So everything you order goes through into the system. Every delivery that you accept goes into your inventory. And then when you write your recipes, it takes the portion of everything you use and the price, which is basically in the system because you've ordered it from the supplier, and it portions it out to tell you how much it costs you to make a dish. And as you use the platform and as you update your inventory and you continuously use the platform, what happens is that, you receive reports. So you receive reports that tell you what you're purchasing versus what you're selling, what your food costs report is. It tells you any kind of discrepancies you have between your actual inventory count and your theoretical count. So it helps restaurateurs really track their full back of the house process and also connect it to your sales. It helps them track everything that's happening in their restaurant, and it really keeps them on top of what's going on. So if there is waste, a lot of waste, and the restaurateur isn't catching that, the system will catch something like that for you right away. Or if you are costing your menu incorrectly. So a lot of our users, one of the things that they say is first month, the system paid for itself for a year, because what they realized is they were costing a few of their items incorrectly, and that was costing them thousands of dollars a year.
Now, I must admit, having listened to you talk about this system here, I'm starting to get flashbacks from my previous IT life, because I have supported a lot of stock management systems for companies. And what I found back then, I mean, this was a good few years ago, but traditionally, this kind of software is very clunky. And if it doesn't add up right, it can cause even more problems. So I'm curious, I mean, the customers that you serve, have they encountered similar situations and similar problems with other software solutions? And what kind of problems do you solve for them as a result of that?
I think that something that's dramatically changed the entire tech world is the cloud-based system.
Yeah.
And yes, the technology, in theory, it was the founders of the company were in the restaurant industry. So in theory, when they thought about the idea, they're like, okay, we're just going to, do this and this and this, and it's going to come together. But the technology of it is more complicated than you anticipate. So what they did is that they've rolled out every feature slowly. Because it's really important for us to get everything right. But because data is now stored on the cloud and you're able to access data and you can adjust data, it's a lot easier to mitigate mistakes. Now, restaurants are just a complicated endeavor in general, especially restaurants with really big menus or constantly changing menus. To stay really up to date, even without a platform, to stay consistently up to date on things. And we find that establishments that have a more simple operations in the sense that, it's a hamburger place and they have 12 different kinds of hamburgers and it's always, it's even their menu is kind of automated. It's just going to be easier for them to use the platform, just as it's going to be easier for them without a platform to manage their inventory. But we mitigate a lot of mistakes that I think can happen and used to happen in the past because everything is connected. So once you upload a catalog from a supplier and their prices are in there and anything is constantly, when they change their prices, it's automatically going to adjust. It's going to change in your system. Because of that one key feature already, we always know that the prices are going to be correct. And that's something that's a really big deal because the prices of goods in food change all the time. If there's a flood, if there's a drought, if, Mexico doesn't have avocados and you have to get them now from Venezuela, whatever the situation is, those prices will fluctuate so quickly that restaurateurs oftentimes, they're not doing anything about those price changes. So if the price of eggs goes up by $2, a carton, the price on their menu is going to stay the same, and that now they're losing every single time on that dish. So just the fact alone that the price will change automatically as your suppliers change it in their system is already a way to mitigate a lot of mistakes. Now, of course, anyone that's using the platform, you still have to write your recipes in. You still have to, be accurate in your accounting of your inventory and all of those things. But one of the things that we've learned and we pass on to our customers is that most of the majority of the money you lose when you're designing your menu or costing your menu are on your key meat and dairy, spices, certain oils like coconut oil. What we tell our customers to do is if you can't put every little ingredient, like flour is not, there's not a big loss. It's not a big margin of difference. Even if a restaurant owner does that, one, it reduces the chances of making mistakes. And two, if something isn't being tracked correctly or something is going wrong and they find that in their very high price ingredients, then that already will save them quite a bit of money.
So can I take you back in time to where all this began and ask what you originally set out to achieve when the company was founded way back in 2012? I mean, was it just a team of restaurant veterans frustrated with the old way of doing things, or was the inspiration for the company from somewhere completely different?
No, literally the founder, his name is Amir Zelig. He owned bars, and he would sit, at the end of the night and just be doing hours and hours of paperwork. Like taking all the invoices from the suppliers and manually writing down, okay, this is the invoice from this supplier, calculating how much he paid out to the suppliers, checking if the supplier didn't bring an item that they were supposed to bring, calling the supplier, chasing after them to get the credit for the items they didn't receive and things that were. And he said there has to be a more efficient way. With all the technology in the world, there has to be a more efficient way. And there just wasn't an all-in-one system. And his friend, who's also one of the who joined the team and became one of the founders with him, is a whiz, is just tech whiz. His name is Arik Meizan. And he said, I think I could make it happen. And it was really a pick yourself by the bootstraps and create something out of nothing. I mean, systems existed, but they first of all, they weren't cloud-based. And second of all, they were really, really, really complicated systems that were so complicated that only restaurants like McDonald's or Carl's Jr., big, corporate restaurants could afford. And someone had to go in and completely set it up for them. There was no plug-and-play system available. So they really had to, create something out of nothing. And it was just based on their personal experiences of, okay, this is inefficient in a restaurant. This is inefficient. This is inefficient. I mean, just the fact that if your items get delivered, let me give you a very simple example, because most of us are restaurant veterans. I've been working in the industry for 17 years, but so I can tell you from firsthand experience. So we would have a kitchen. The manager who ordered the food, who ordered the ingredients, wasn't the same manager who received the delivery. So I had no way of knowing delivery was actually what we ordered or not. Like, it's as simple as that. So what will happen when that happens is that the companies, because they're doing millions of deliveries and they're so busy, they make mistakes. I'm telling you, almost every single time. But I didn't know they were making a mistake. I thought we actually ordered 7 bags of cashews. And then the manager who placed the order comes in and says, no, I ordered 2 bags of cashews. They charged us for 7 and they dropped off 7. So I have to call the supplier and then I have to let them know and they have to come back and then we have to make sure that they credit our account. I mean, those are hours wasted. So the system, just one of hundreds of things, is when whoever makes the order to the supplier, everything they've ordered and the quantity and the price is in the system. Whoever is there can take that delivery and know in that moment, hey, no, this isn't correct. Don't leave me 7 bags. Look, we ordered 2 bags. So all of those mistakes can be fixed right on the spot. You don't have to play catch up. You don't have to chase your tail, which is, I think, what restaurant owners end up doing. And then they get so frustrated that they say, you know what, forget about that credit. But if you keep saying forget about that and forget about that and forget about that, those things add up. So it was really going through every single inefficiency one by one and saying, okay, there's still a list and we always come up with new things. And okay, how are we going to fix this? Okay, we did this. And that's a process. That's a process with the programmers and the coders and everybody involved. And then, then we have to test it and then we have to release it to some people so they make sure that it works correctly. And then we really, so it's a huge process. So it's, literally catching every single inefficiency and saying, how are we going to solve that inefficiency?
And you guys have come such a long way since those bootstrapping days and been on an incredible journey. I mean, like you said at the beginning, Upserve has recently acquired SimpleOrder. I mean, can you tell me a little bit more about how that came about and also how it's enabling you to take things to the next level?
Well, first of all, I am not on the side. I do content. And although I'm very close, we were a very tiny little family. What I can tell you is what I do know. What I do know is that POS systems have, come to what we realized in 2012 is that the front of the house is only half of the equation. How could you have an efficient restaurant when your front of house is automated and your kitchen is still calling the supplier to place an order, or is still writing their recipes down on paper?
Yeah.
There was a disconnect. There was a huge disconnect. And so we couldn't really, those POS systems that were making these promises of success, they were helping restaurants, and they have been for, I think POS systems are 30 years old, but they couldn't really completely solve a lot of the issues until the back of house was automated. And once the POS world became attuned to this, either they started to develop their own technology, or they were looking for other companies that were focusing on that. And, SimpleOrder is just one of the, it's not a big pool. And I think because most of the owners worked, and most of the company has worked in restaurants, and I think because there was a lot of focus, and I have to say, they were very good about choosing people who were extremely focused and efficient and smart and knew how to do things the smart way. We were one of the companies that, I think were highly looked at from a few different POS systems. And, it was just a blessing. It's a beautiful thing. And I mean, of course, it gives us so much more access. Well, I think first and foremost, it gives us the opportunity to really, really help restaurants. Like I said, because most of us come from the industry, I for example, still work. I do a bit of restaurant consulting and catering. I'm doing an event tonight with 25 people, and I could tell you it's backbreaking work for very little money. Yeah. Nobody is rich. I can't really think of one. You see famous chefs on these shows, but even they're not wealthy people. And that's the best it's going to get. So you're really doing something out of love and passion. And we do it. We did it, and we do it ourselves. So we understand. We really empathize with the people who work in the industry and how much they do and how difficult it is on so many levels. Restaurants, I heard David Chang on a podcast once say that it's the only job in the world where you're criticized. Literally, there's millions of critics, and they're criticizing you every day, every moment, and it's public. Think about, any other job. An accountant doesn't have people coming and looking at their work and, studying their work and then going online and, every second of the day writing about what they think of what they just did. They live under this microscope. They work so hard, and they feed people, which is, if you love food, that's the greatest, thing you can do is feed other people. So we really wanted to help people. And now we have the opportunity to give them a system that can completely revolutionize their restaurant. There's so many aspects that SimpleOrder and a POS system like Upserve, there's so many issues that they address and they fix. By automating inventory, by automating your purchases, by automating, the way that you order food and the way that people pay checks and the way they pay their bills. And more importantly, by all the information the restaurant gets. They get very clear, easy to read reports on everything. So the restaurant knows our system, Upserve, the POS system, will tell them right away, after a few weeks of seeing the patterns, you're staffing too many people in this hour, in this time of day. Every Wednesday, you have 2 extra people on staff. That's costing your business in a month $800. So all of those tracking, all of those data tracking and the reports that it's creating and the information it's providing to restaurateurs, that it is really, really a huge help and gives them an advantage that they never had before. And that was exactly the issue of small family-owned restaurants against chains, because chain restaurants, have had access to that type of information, that type of data, that type of automation for years. And we are giving Upserve and SimpleOrder, and the system together is giving smaller restaurants that kind of access. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is such a huge and highly competitive industry. But from a tech point of view, there does seem to be an influx of tech companies all working to connect restaurateurs to local providers and cut out go-betweens. So what is it that makes what you guys are offering unique and stand out in this space, and why Upserve chose you, do you think?
What makes us, automating inventory was a really big breakthrough for us. And that was something that we really, really, really worked hard to make happen. I was there when the team did it. We didn't sleep. So I think that was what really gave us the edge. I know for a fact that no other company had automated inventory, and that was it. Once we integrated with the POS systems and we could automatically deduct by proportion everything you sold in your restaurant out of your inventory, that was a game changer. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal for restaurant owners. There's a process to set any platform up in a restaurant and get your team on board, and there's a lot of payoffs to the process of setting up SimpleOrder. And look, I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I know I have people, friends of mine who own restaurants. One of them is a man named Desi Saran, who he was working with two other entrepreneurs. They did, a place called Pliables, which was very successful. He broke out onto his own and started his own business called Sweet Berry Bowls. And he really, really, understood the benefit of using the system, and he integrated it and really learned it and set it up and took the time. And he said, yeah, I spent a month or 2 weeks, whatever time it was, setting that up. But what I got in return for that, it's years of my time. It's years, Yeah. So that type of automation it's a big advantage. It really, really saves restaurants a lot of time, and that's something that restaurant owners never have enough of. So I think that's what gave us the edge. Yeah.
And you've had a phenomenal successful year, but looking forward to the future, I mean, where do you go from here? What are your next big objectives for the next 12, 18 months and beyond?
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I think that, back of the house automation is something that's still very foreign. Maybe, you and I know about it because we are in, you're specializing in tech and I specialize in restaurants. So we know about it, right? And I work for, for this company, so I know about it. But a lot of people don't know about this type of platform. They don't, first of all, they don't, you'd be surprised how many restaurant owners people open restaurants and know very little about the industry. So education about the industry is important. Education about platforms that exist. What are these platforms? How do we utilize them? I think we have a lot of work to do to making it as well known. Having a POS system, even in a taqueria that's like a stand, with two people working, having a POS system is a no-brainer. That's the first thing you do when you open your restaurant. But people don't see back of the house platforms in the same way. And the goal is for it to be an automatic, yes, it goes together. I'm going to automate my kitchen. I'm going to automate my front of house, and I'm going to integrate those systems. And I'm going to have a well-oiled machine. It's all going to work together. It's a circle, and everything has to work together. So that is, we have a lot of work to do. And I mean, always, our technology is fast. There's always new technology, new data, new things happening. It's staying up with all of that stuff. It's always fine-tuning, making it better, automating it more, providing the data people need. Our customers are part of our family. We work very closely with some of our customers, have been with us from day one, and we get feedback all of the time. So we're constantly making improvements all the time.
I think there will be a lot of people listening. We're listening to the SimpleOrder story and how you went out to solve a problem and you bootstrapped the company and then you were acquired by Upserve, obviously, in this case. I mean, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way, and what advice would you offer to any potential startup founders listening, would you say?
What lessons did we learn? I think for me, I could say kind of from the outside and from the inside. It's amazing to see two young men with an idea and a lot of energy create something, to believe in themselves and to go for it. And, that is a very inspiring part of the story for me. And it inspires me in my personal life all of the time. I would say some things that I watched that I think was amazing is it's really important, the team that you create. It's very, very important to have trust and communication between the team. It's very important to, they have a very keen sense of finding good people and really honoring those people's talents and giving them a lot of space and freedom to just do what they do well. And I think that's a huge part of the company's success, is that with a very small team, we were able to accomplish so much because, we were trusted. There was a lot of trust in us and the capacity of our work. And, I think it's not always about having a ton of money or the biggest teams. It's about exactly what the system does. It's about being efficient, giving everybody has their own skill and talent and their own something to contribute. So letting each person focus on what they're good at, that's when you get a lot done. And sticking with it, I think they stuck with it even in the hard times, and they really, really, really kept their eye on the prize. They stayed very, very, very focused. Even in difficult times, it's easy to give up. It's easy to say, we can't do this. And when we automated the inventory, that was a really difficult time, and nobody ever acted like it was, what I mean? Like the top people in the company kept a smile on their face and a positive attitude. They didn't ever waver. And I think that was a huge part in keeping the company successful. It was believing even when it was difficult to believe, And I think those are some of the most important lessons that I've experienced from being a part of this team.
Fantastic advice, it really is. Now, we're probably going to leave people wanting more. So before I do let you go, can you just tell the listeners where they can find you guys online, and maybe even reach out and contact you or a member of your team if they've got any questions about what they've heard today?
Well, for all the UK users, you can go to SimpleOrder.com. It's very simple. SimpleOrder.com. And if you're a restaurant, if you click on restaurants, you can find out we do demos. We have a 30-day free trial. We have an amazing customer success team that really, really holds our customers' hands every step of the way. You can start with one part of the system, just start ordering from your suppliers or track your inventory, see what you get out of it. And I think, one of the things is if people use the system right away, they see the benefit right away. If you're a customer in the United States, if you're hearing this from the United States, if you go to the Upserve.com website, under the product tab, we have inventory, or you can go to Upserve.com/inventory management. But and you go there and it tells you all about the product and the features and what you can do. And you can also sign up for a demo and a trial. And anytime you want to reach out to us, we're always here to answer any questions. And it's info@simpleorder.com. And we're all over social media. So we are talking to people on all platforms 24 hours a day. We love to have dialogue with other restaurant owners. Some of our customers or people who just asked about the product have become part of our community. We write about them. We keep in touch with them. We follow along with the work that they're doing. So feel free to reach out to us, and we hope that people become a part of our community.
Fantastic. Well, it's a hugely inspirational startup story that you've been on. And I love how you're actually using technology to revolutionise the restaurant industry. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
I just love this startup story and how SimpleOrder was founded in Tel Aviv, Israel in 2012 by restaurant industry veterans who just saw that critical need to bring back-of-house operations into the 21st century. But once again, this is a trend that so many guests on this show seem to go through. Some people will come across a pain point and complain about it, while others do something about it. So from bootstrapping to acquisition, this story had it all. As for the technology, SimpleOrder is providing restaurant operators with an automated inventory system that provides counts in real time and reducing food waste while simultaneously streamlining and ordering the replenishment process. And it's also worth highlighting that it currently helps thousands of restaurants in over 25 countries reduce their waste, cut costs and streamline operations. So a big thank you to Judith for coming on and explaining that and making us all aware. But remember, over to you. You can share your thoughts by emailing me directly at techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweeting me at Neil C. Hughes. I've got some bad news for you all before I go. I've got a sneaking suspicion I'm about to come down with man flu, so apologies if you do hear me sniffling. Nothing more annoying than listening to someone sniffling next to you on the train or the bus, and you certainly don't want to have your earphones in and be listening to a man sneezing too. So I'm going to go off and get myself a hot lemon drink, and hopefully we can get rid of this cold before it develops into something more nasty. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.